Welcome. Thank you for coming to Youth Job Center's first ever virtual event. Thank you for spending Saturday night with us tonight. We would normally be celebrating at a place like Main Stage at Rogers Park, and I would do my best to hug each and every one of you. But as we're all adjusting to a world we never quite expected, we'll do our best. And as you saw, there are just moments that we're not quite prepared for this, but we'll weather our way through tonight. I'm Karen Tolinar-Demarest. I'm the Executive Director of the Youth Job Center, and I hope you're settled into a comfy chair. Hope you maybe have a nice beverage and a little snack. We're excited to share more about our work tonight. We're also going to share about some of the challenges, both current and future, that we anticipate, as well as the opportunities that exist for us to do more, to do better. Before we start, I want to acknowledge our sponsors. And this is really important because we got sponsors to support a live event, and we didn't lose a single one when we switched to a virtual event. Their generosity was really wonderful and very appreciated. So our premier sponsor is the very generous Steele Foundation and has been for several years. We also have several partner sponsors, including Acquirent, BMO Harris Bank, Haggerty Consulting, Clear Story Consulting, and Northwestern University. Other sponsors are Jack and Gail Callahan, Texin, Wintrust Bank, and Cahill Inc. We really appreciate the sponsorship and that support. So let me share a little more. Like every other agency, our work has changed significantly in the last 7 weeks. And yet, in some ways, it's exactly the same. We still do training. We still provide personalized support for young people. We still place young people in jobs. It's just starting to look different. The training and advising is all virtual. The jobs are somewhat different. Most of the jobs that we have available now are what we've learned to know as essential roles, even though they were always essential. And we know that coming out of this is going to be a heavy lift for everyone. The economic changes are vast. They're heavy on individuals, small and large business, and public sector as well. I know that many of you know these statistics, but in the last 6 weeks, more than 30 million people have applied for unemployment benefits. And that doesn't even count the number of people who have reduced hours and are underemployed. What we're seeing at YJC is that 62% of the young people we work with have lost their jobs since the beginning of March. So at the same time, we're seeing an increase in need, we're seeing a decrease in opportunity. These challenges regularly have a greater negative impact on low-income communities and communities of color, and that is primarily who we work with at YJC. So we've got our work cut out for us, but there's a lot of opportunity to shift, to think differently, and support young people into jobs and careers, and I'll share more about that later. We also know that how we rebuild is going to matter a lot. As we think about our future, we can ask ourselves if we're providing equitable opportunities for young people everywhere. Are we providing information and access across every neighborhood? And if we're not, what can we shift and change now to do so? At YJC, we aren't going anywhere. We're committed to being a strong partner, and together we can rebuild from the crisis. We're very fortunate both in Evanston and Chicago to have exceptional partners in our schools, in our agency partners, in our cities, who work together to seek solutions to very complicated problems. Tonight, we were going to have a special guest. Chef Q was going to join us, but sadly, she had a close death this week as a result of COVID. It's something that's getting all too close to all of us. But you're going to have an opportunity later in the evening to see a cooking demonstration from Chef Q. And I want to tell a little more about her because she's pretty amazing. She has been working with YJC young people for over 5 years, training in culinary skills, training in how to move into the hospitality industry. She's just done a wonderful job. In addition, she's had a high-end catering business. And as this pandemic started, all of that shut down immediately. But that didn't stop her. She's now cooking meals for Evanston residents who face food insecurity. She personally cooks meals for over 100 people, and she can't have anyone help her because her mother is living with her, and so she can't have people in her home. She's a true example of a leader in our community, and if you don't know her, you should. So I want to share a little more about tonight, because we are at a really interesting place where we have to both recognize the depth and the loss and the fear in our community, our nation, our world, while we also strive to find the hope for our future together. So I want to move into our program. You're going to hear from YJC staff, participants, and volunteers. And we're going to share more about what we're thinking as solutions for our shared future, and also what you can do to help. So first, I'm going to bring in YJC's exceptional training manager, Lisa. Lisa comes to us with a long background in corporate and international training. So I want to deserve her. So I'm lucky to have her on the YJC team. And we're going to share more about what we're thinking as solutions for our shared future, and also what you can do. Lisa.
Yes. Hi, Karen.
Welcome. It's great to see you. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
So I just mentioned that you've been a corporate trainer for a long time, and you've had great success in that, working for large corporations, traveling internationally with lots of resources and growth opportunity. And now you've come to YJC. Yeah. Why does this work matter to you?
That's a great question. I've got an answer. It's all about our youth, right? Joining YJC after 30 years in the private and public sector was actually a really welcome challenge. The goal was to take what I've learned in the corporate sector and bring it home to our community, bring it to our youth. And that's been an exciting challenge for me. I tell youth from our community all the time, it really doesn't matter what you start out with, but what you do with what you have. And I've been able to help them begin to implement that day to day. And it's exciting, even virtually. I mean, the challenges just keep coming, but we just keep hitting it hard.
That's awesome, Lisa. So what would you say are the most important things that we can provide for young people through our training and support?
It's important to me that our clients receive proper training as they enter the workforce. We want to catch them right at the beginning. And when we're able to do that, having basic professional skills at the beginning of your work life leads to quicker stability and fewer false starts. So that's what we're looking to give our youth, at least the basic skills to get a job and keep a job.
Great. And how do you empower them to move forward with the confidence that you just mentioned earlier?
Funny you should use that word, because that's what we're dealing with so often when they walk into our house. That's what's missing. It's the self-confidence. So we have to first spend time letting our youth know that they can take control of their lives at any starting point. Wherever you are, you can decide today, I am taking control and I am moving forward. I am going to achieve success. And it may take a lot of starts, a lot of trials and error to get there, but they can get there. And that's what we share with them at YJC.
And what are a couple of things that you see that are in the way of them grasping that quickly?
Oh, Karen, every week it's different. We had a couple enter our house a number of months ago, 2 individuals who had their children removed by the system because of a number of reasons, including they were unable to provide financially for their children. So, they were in a bad way when they entered our house. Well, we got to work, right? Building that self-confidence, giving them the job skills, connecting them to opportunities, letting them know what was available. So much of it, young people are like, I didn't know people get paid to do that. I'm like, yes, they absolutely do. And it might as well be you. So anyway, this couple, right? They're both working now, right? And you can just see when they come into the house, the difference in their lives, and they're working to add stability to their lives and get their children's back. And that's the kind of thing that excites me every day.
That's great. Thank you so much. I want to share with the viewers that when Lisa talks about our house, we have a building, it's the main office in Evanston that actually is an iconic house on Church Street. And it's simultaneously a wonderful place because it's welcoming, and it's a very challenging space because it's not constructed very easily for working together effectively. So, but for the young people we work with, they love it and they come in and they feel very comfortable there. So that's what I wanted to clarify with that. We're going to add a few more people to our discussion now.
Great.
I want to invite Rose and Howard and Bill into the room with us.
Hey, Karen.
Yes.
Karen, before you move on, the training department has a gift for all of our donors today.
Oh, good. What's that?
Is it all right if I share now?
Sure.
All right. This is for all of our donors. Hey, have some candy. Skittles for everyone who donated. Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Lisa. What a great treat.
I didn't get any. Where's ours?
We'll get you later there, Howard. Okay, so let me introduce our latest guests here. So we've got Howard Elman, who is our volunteer coordinator. And he's an exceptional volunteer because he also helped set up our volunteer program. We've revamped it and he's just done a wonderful job. Howard is an Evanston resident since 1988 and knows and loves this community. Rose is our assistant manager for career pathways, and she has been with us a little over a year, and we are very fortunate to have Rose on our team. She's an incredible advocate for the young people. She teaches us all along the way of what we can do better to support our young people. And Bill, welcome, also a volunteer and mentor. And we met Bill, who has been doing volunteer work at Kurt's Cafe for over 3 years and got connected to us and our clients through that, and has done a lot of work with us around both mentoring the young people and also helping us with some of our branding and organizational work. So welcome to all of you. So I'm going to start with a question to Bill and Howard, because you are both volunteers, and I want you to tell us about your experience in volunteering and mentoring these young people, and specifically how it impacts you. And Howard, let's start with you.
Well, my experience is maybe, I think, a little bit different than Bill's, in that I'm kind of a newbie at this. This is my first time. I've been working with YJC for give or take a year now. Prior to that, I never really worked this closely with the population that the Youth Job Center serves. And it was one thing, to read about it and to talk to my friends about it in a theoretical way, but has really been an eye-opening experience for me to deal with the youth and really see the way that they have to fight over so many obstacles to live their version of the American dream. It was really an eye-opening experience. It's also been very encouraging, in spite of the fact of how eye-opening it was, because to see how hard that the youth work to try and improve their lives is very encouraging. And then also to watch the YJC staff, who are amazing, and the way that they work with the youth and help them and guide them and fill the holes that they need filled in their lives is very encouraging. And it's also been very rewarding at the end of the day for me. I mean, to work with one of the clients and, see them get excited about something and see them be so happy when they, reach the goal that they had set for themselves is a very rewarding experience. And, from time to time, people will come up to me and thank me for volunteering. And I really think the equation should be flipped. I thank YJC for the opportunity to volunteer, because it's been extremely rewarding.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Howard. Bill?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to pick up on some of these themes. Howard, I as well, consider it a privilege to be able to volunteer at YJC. It's been, for me, really humbling, quite honestly, to have the exposure to some of the, so many of the challenges that the youth have to go through, just sometimes to just show up. It can take a couple hours on public transportation just to get to YJC or just to get to their internship. They might be housing insecure, food insecure. And it's really caused me to maybe examine and revisit some of the advantages that I had in my life, right? When, growing up, certainly, in the Chicago area, you don't think about when you're in high school, sort of, growing up in Chicago, you don't think about the advantages you have. The glass is usually half empty. You're looking at your neighbor having more than you, the 10-speed bike, and you've only got, whatever. But it's really something to see how inspirational the youth can be, and these clients that come in, because at the end of the day, it is really inspiring. It is a triumph of the human spirit to watch them want to get better at what they do, want to improve their lives, seek out who they are, and make it happen. So it's great. I feed off that energy. I get a charge every time I walk in the door. And it's great to see the staff and the clients there, and watch them all get better at what they do and move forward in their lives.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I agree.
And I want to ask another question of all of you. One of the things that we're really conscious of is the inequality that is built into so many places in our system. And Rose, I want to start with you because you're such a strong advocate. Where do you see the inequalities that these young people are facing every day?
Yeah, so I want to talk about how COVID has impacted our youth on a week-to-week basis, so that we can begin to have this dialogue around how this shift has occurred in our household here at YJC, but also in their lives. So what we realized is week one, which I would say was about the first week of March when this happened, most of our youth started abiding by the stay-at-home order. So what we started to see was a lot of our youth, either because the businesses they worked at shut down or they were let go, had to remain at home. So while we are big advocates of our young people being employed and having the resources to provide for themselves and their family, we began to see that shift. By week two, we saw that a lot of our young people, their hours were starting to get cut. And that caused it even more of a heightened awareness for us as a staff, myself as a career advisor, and the rest of the career advisors at YJC. Well, we began to see the increase in unemployment that you talked about, Karen. It just became so much more prevalent for our young people, and them trying to navigate some of those systems of what unemployment looks like, right? I mean, it's easy to say, oh, well, you can file for unemployment, but for a lot of our young people, accessing technology and those resources to be able to navigate that space can be very daunting.
Yeah, Rose, I mean, that's really something too, because, I read stories about everybody having issues accessing these benefits, right? I mean, and we're talking about business people, we're talking about individuals, and so this is an issue that is affecting all of society, and
Right.
I just think it's so great that our clients have somebody to go to and have that point person to help them navigate through this, because, like I said, it's you see people that are very well equipped theoretically to navigate through this, and they're really frustrated.
Right. And then what we started to see after that is by week 3, week 4, week 5 and plus, a lot of our young parenting mothers began to be impacted, not only for themselves, but their children. A lot of our young people live in community with other brothers, sisters, grandparents, right? So the general structure of a household isn't just necessarily just them and their children. We began to see their networks also be affected by this closure. So all of this just began to put everyone at YJC into basically this go mode of what are we going to do as an organization? How are we going to take action so that we're on the front lines to be able to provide as much support that we can for them, whether it be virtually through our work readiness training, whether it be by providing them masks. A lot of our young people are asking for, food supplies. They're asking for diapers for their children. They're asking for masks, and these are basic things that, I'm in a position in my life to be able to access those things. So it's a, like you all mentioned, it's very humbling to know that, yes, I do have access to those things, but I also have to reach out and advocate for our young people to have access to these things as well, right? That we're not taking for granted that they don't have access to transportation in the way that we might in today's time of COVID, that they're not going to have access the way we do in terms of food resources because of where they live in their community. So I think it's very important that when we talk about what's happening, during this global pandemic, that we're also touching on that depending on where our youth live in these communities, they're being impacted very differently. But overall, it's just so much more magnified, in the type of support that we want to provide for them. And I believe that we can do a lot, but I think it's going to take a network of a lot of us working together to begin to offer these resources.
Bill or Howard or Lisa, do you have some of the inequities that you've observed and, any potential solutions you see in those?
I'm still reeling from listening to Rose and talking about all the COVID related stuff, because when I think about inequities, I think about the inequities that existed before COVID and how tough that was. And now when you add that to the mix, it's just unbelievable. But I mean, some of the inequities that I think about, I mean, there are many. I view them as symptoms of the systematic inequities that we have in our society. And it's been that way for a long time. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to get better anytime soon. And so these symptoms that I see are things like negative peer influence. Like, for example, I have worked with some youth, one in particular, who felt the need to change high school 3 times until he got to a place where he felt comfortable and he was able to graduate. Also, lack of consistent parental or guardian support. And if you think about like this young man who was navigating his way through high school and having to decide which other high school he could go to and what his options were, and then to not have an older parent or guardian or someone to advise him through that process at that formative age is just such a difficult obstacle for him to go through. And then also lack of reliable and secure housing. These, are just, 3 things. Like I knew came in contact with multiple clients of YJC who would spend part of a week in one home and part of a week in another home. And they really didn't have any one location that they could say was their own and keep their things. So in terms of solutions, I don't know if this is the direction I'm supposed to go, but I see many of the things that I've experienced over the last year that YJC is doing, which are trying to fill these holes that the societal inequities have created. And, for example, the tutoring programs that we've done. Like, I know that there are youth who have not graduated high school, but they want to get their high school diploma. And we've connected them with tutors who can help them prepare for the high school efficiency exam and pass it. We have other clients who are currently working, but they want to increase their value by getting more education, and they want to go back to community college. And so we have tutors who are helping them in writing classes and statistics classes and anatomy classes. The mentoring program. Bill and I worked together on a culinary mentoring program where we had the students mapped, each one was mapped to an individual mentor who could work with them through the class and help work with them in whatever was necessary to get them through the class successfully and encourage them on that process. And then on to their internship, and then hopefully on to their first full-time job. We have a similar situation going now with an auto mechanics program, but that has been severely impacted by COVID-19 because you can't get into the auto shop. So it's all done virtually. And then hopefully when we're able to gain access to an auto shop, they can finish the lab portion of that. But I think those are solutions that can help fill the holes. And I think YJC does a great job doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to maybe just, one more item on in this in terms of the YJC element. I think in these really challenging times, right? When unemployment and jobs are getting cut, and my mentee had an internship at a restaurant in Evanston that has been closed, and so he's back living with his parents, with his mom right now, and I think what we provide is, and it's just hope, right? And it's something just, it's simple, but it's everything, right? Because hope is how you overcome obstacles in your life, right? And because you have hope, because you have dreams, because you have aspirations, right? And it's that hope that now more than ever is so important to really cultivate and nurture, right? I mean, I was doing gardening today. It's spring. It's like the first beautiful day, right? And we've got these just tiny little plants that we're putting in the ground. And it's a bit of a cliche, but it's so true that we're just nurturing these seeds, this potential, this life potential. We're giving it hope, we're giving it sun, we're giving it water. And this is where they come for that nourishment. And
I so appreciate you saying that. And I think that's one of the things. Lisa, I want to turn to you really quickly. And then very quickly, I'd like to ask everybody, just give one wish for the young people we work with. So Lisa, let's go to you.
Karen, I just wanted to mention, this is where our partners come in and why we appreciate them so much. Opening those doors for our youth. And Eileen just mentioned recently, one of our partners said, here are the opportunities that are coming down the pipe, and we want your youth to have them available to them. So that's why training is getting them ready. When they're open, our youth will be ready. Hire them.
That's a good one. Okay, so Lisa, what's your wish for the young people?
My wish is that they achieve what they were truly created to do. And I think a great way to get that started is by partnering with YJC.
Rose?
The wish for them is to continue to communicate during this time of COVID-19 and social distancing, and for them to remember that they have advocates in our office, calling them, checking in on them in whatever platform we can, and that we believe in their goals, and they're the CEOs of their lives, and we're just here to guide them along that journey, and we want to root for them throughout this process.
Awesome. Thank you, Rose. Bill?
It's all about confidence when we're in the mock interviews and we're helping them to really train for those job interviews. Confidence that they can get the job, they can be successful, and they can excel in their careers, right? So it's just that inner core of confidence that's going to carry them forward.
Great. Howard, your last wish.
My wish would be for them to know themselves, like themselves, and trust themselves. And then as they maneuver through life and they have decisions to make, to know themselves well enough to make a good decision and trust themselves to believe in that decision, and then put all their effort in to fulfill the goal that decision laid out.
Thank you all. Thank you all for all you do. And I'm sure everybody watching can see how valuable it is that we all together create and weave this web of support for our young people. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
So I'm going to share a few more remarks. And for those of you still watching, we do have a video we want you to watch. We have the cooking demonstration. We're actually going to have you move to the YJC website to watch that. Just the joys of the world of technology and virtual events. But before we do that, I have a few things I want to share with you, and then I'll turn you loose there. So first, as we've been working from home in the last 7 weeks, we've learned a lot. We found new ways of working together. We've found new ways of supporting each other. We've found new ways of supporting our young people. And it's one of the things you can see what an awesome team we have, but it's also that element of just continuing to build and change and learn and grow. And we're very lucky to have this group. We've also found new ways of connecting with you. And this is an example. I'm actually very excited tonight because my family's watching from the West Coast and Des Moines. And I know that there are people from all beyond our reach where we would not be able to engage with you if we were having this in Rogers Park. So thank you all for joining us tonight. But before we turn to the video, I want to share a little bit about how YJC planned to weather this period, because we could tell a couple months ago that it was going to be unpredictable and potentially rough. And as Bill mentioned, we have to create hope. We have to think about the future and where we can go in the most positive ways. So when we realized the potential impact of the pandemic, we spent a lot of time as a board and a staff discussing the most appropriate and effective responses from YJC. And we started by first acknowledging that there are urgent basic needs that take precedence: housing, access to food. Without those critical and foundational supports, it's impossible to be successful anywhere, including in the workplace. So we looked at our budget. We consolidated all our revenue we needed to raise for the rest of our fiscal year, which ends on June 30th, that would allow us to continue supporting our young people without reducing services. And that revenue includes our annual event, which is this and would have been in person, a spring appeal, and other fundraising. So we just consolidated all of that and set a new goal. We set a new goal and reduced the amount significantly based upon the reality of the situation and the impact this is having on people's lives. We know this is having an impact everywhere. We also reduced our expenses, and the goal we set to raise for the rest of our fiscal year was $100,000. We've worked closely with our community funders to shift dollars around so that dollars that previously would have been spent on something restricted now can be used for emergency support for young people as they need food, phones, transportation, and more. And so in this period, we've been working with our board, donors, and others to raise that money, and we're more than 3/4 of the way there already. So any support you can give tonight will help us reach that goal. And if you are so inclined, we have some matching challenges. Mary and Paul Finnegan will match any gift of $1,000 up to $10,000. And then we've got a matching gift from our board for $1,500 or $2,500 gifts. But again, whatever you can do to support would be great. And we also have a need for technology resources. It's one of the big inequities in serving young people, is young people not having access or opportunity to even be at the table virtually. So we're pragmatic, we're confident we're going to reach our goal. And once we hit that goal, we want to step aside because we recognize that there are many individuals and many organizations that need your support that provide these very basic human needs. And that's critical right now. But I also want you to know we're only stepping to the side for now. We think YJC will play an incredibly important role in the coming months and years. Our program changes now are leading us to positioning ourselves to be there for young people in new ways. For example, we're in conversations right now with community colleges and public health around training in contact tracing, an area that's going to have a high demand for workers. There will be areas in which opportunity is growing and present, and we can strategically work with training partners and employers to move young people into those. And we've always felt that it's important for every young person to be in a career in which they are valued for their contribution. We're looking at that value of contribution differently these days, and we will continue to push for that at YJC, for valuing the essential workers even when the crisis is over, for our healthcare system, for everyone that contributes in every way to our shared society. So at YJC, we believe our work can be stronger and more effective. That's where our hope is. We want to support young people as we come out of this. We know as individuals and as an agency, we will never quite be the same. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. We can find the opportunity to be better. We can find the opportunity to be more efficient. We can find the opportunity to be more effective. So you saw just a couple of our amazing staff. I want to thank all of them. They truly are incredible, and they have just been wonderful as we've shifted our work. I have always said that YJC has the best board of directors anywhere, so thank you to all of you. Our volunteers, our young people, our employer partners, our community partners are all incredible, and their hard work, resiliency, and dedication to supporting each other through this crisis is something we value deeply. So now I'm going to quit talking, and I'm going to direct you to the Youth Job Center website. You're going to see the URL come up on the screen after me. And on that website, you can see the video that has our clients that depicts the culinary program. You can see the cooking demonstration from Chef Q, who again is an incredible person. And you can find out how you can engage and if you want to support the organization. And I thank you for being with us tonight. We will come out of this together. Thank you.